Ernest Hemingway was born in Oak Park, Illinois in 1899. He started his career working as a writer in a newspaper office in Kansas City when he was 17 instead of going to college. He joined a volunteer ambulance unit in the Italian Army when the U.S. entered the First World War. He was wounded and was awarded the Silver Medal of Military Valor from the Italian Armed Forces and the Bronze Star from the United States Armed Forces, and spent a lot of time in various hospitals due to his injuries. He had 4 different wives and 3 kids with his first 2 wives. His first wife was Elizabeth Hadley Richardson. They got married in 1920. They lived frugally, since Hemingway didn't have a job after he quit working for the paper Cooperative Commonwealth. They lived only on Hadley's trust fund. They soon saved enough to move to Paris, France, where Hadley became pregnant. A trip to Spain during the fiesta on the 6th of July was the inspiration of the novel The Sun Also Rises. The couple went back to Canada so their child could be born on American soil. They had a baby boy named John Hadley O'Connor Hemingway. The couple divorced after Hadley discovered his affair with Vogue editor Pauline Piffier on January 27, 1927. Hemingway was devastated at the loss and dedicated The Sun Also Rises to Hadley and their son, giving them the royalties earned from the book. On May 10, 1927, Hemingway married Pauline. The couple moved to Key West, Florida in 1931, where Pauline had a boy, Patrick, whom they called Sonny. Shortly after Hemingway finished his novel, Death in the Afternoon, in 1931, Pauline had another boy, Gregory Hancock. In 1939, Hemingway and Pauline separated, leaving Hemingway suffering with guilt. On November 21, 1940, he married Martha Hellhorn, although from the beginning their relationship was strained, since Hemingway could not handle a woman with her own career. In 1945, Hemingway moved back to Paris, and his marriage with Martha was over. On March 14, 1946, he married Mary Welsh, but he began drinking heavily due to the guilt of yet another failed marriage. At the height of his career, he started to become extremely paranoid, convinced someone was trying to kill him. He also became delusional, screaming at a waiter one night at a restaurant with friends, demanding if the man was Spanish or Polish. Hemingway found himself unable to write, which marked as his last thing to live for. After a failed attempt at suicide, he was admitted to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. He received electroshock therapy, but ended in the middle of the cycle as it proved ineffective and ended his memory and ability to write. Hemingway was released in Ketchum, Idaho, where on July 2, 1961, he committed suicide. He uses his experience as a reporter during the Civil War in Spain as a background to what is considered his most ambitious novel, For Whom the Bell Tolls, which he also wrote after he separated from Pauline. He also used this experience as an ambulance driver to write his successful novel, A Farewell to Arms. Another famous work of his is The Old Man and the Sea, which he wrote in 1952, which received the Pulitzer Prize. This book resurrected Hemingway's career, which had dwindled after he published Across the River and Into the Trees. He also won the American Academy of Arts and Letters Award of Merit in 1954. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954. He also received the top reporter of the last 100 years for the Kansas City Star in 1999. He was a great sportsman and liked to portray soldiers, hunters, and bullfighters, which were tough and sometimes primitive. These characters were courageous and honest against the brutality of their modern society, which causes them to lose hope and faith. He had very straightforward writing and wrote with very little dialogue. It is very similar to the writing style of a journalist, which for a long time Hemingway was. He focuses a lot of writing on outdoors, such as trees and weather. His writing is concise and moves quickly from scene to scene. His greatest influences were the wars which he went through. Hemingway lived through both World Wars and the Spanish Civil War, all which had drastic effects on him, both as a person and a writer.